Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's Marcia O'Connor. This is Top 3, where entrepreneurs share their secrets and mistakes. And today I got another amazing guest. Well, no, I have amazing invest people. People are amazing out there right now, guys. And the entrepreneur world is so hot and heavy, but everybody thinks it's so easy to do. And we're going to talk about an individual who actually has its own amazing, like, clothing company that makes literally handmade shirts and pants and suits and all. And he's a dear friend of mine, and of course, in our EO community, which I talk about all the time. So, Brian Lipstein, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Marcia. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you here as well. Now, obviously your company is called Henry Davidson. So I think people are going to ask that first question. Why did you call it Henry Davidson?
Yeah, no, I get that question all the time because obviously my name is not Henry Davidson. And when I started the business 18 years ago, I knew that I wanted to build a brand. I knew I wanted to build something that was bigger than me, that wasn't always going to be tied to me. And in thinking about what to name that, we had been hearing stories through some family and friends about this gentleman, Henry A. Davidson, who was always known to be well dressed. And thinking about what we wanted to do with the company, we help individuals feel more confident about themselves and appear, to their public with a reputation, which is what Henry had with his. So when we're done helping our clients, we want to make sure that they represent the same reputation that Henry was known for in the stories we had heard.
Oh, phenomenal. And now 18 years is a long time. You're too young to basically have started a company 18 years ago. What made you decide to do it then?
Yeah, I say I was young, naive, and stupid.
Aren't we all?
I was actually a senior at Penn. I had worked hard during my undergrad years with the intention of having a whole lot of fun my last semester. So I was a part-time student. I was taking a class pass fail for fun. It was a 3-hour class on Mondays, and one other class that I actually somehow skipped as a prerequisite for my major. So I knew all the information because I had learned it in my 200 level classes that I took. So I really had essentially 6-day weekends with one 3-hour class in between. And I said, let's not be a complete bum. And this opportunity presented itself to start this business with one of my classmates at the time. And so I said, yeah, I can spend a couple days a week working on this. And we did, and we launched it and applied to the venture program that Wharton offers,
Mhm.
got accepted. So we had advising and some seed funding and some office space provided at no cost. Really the start of Wharton's incubator
Mhm.
as it started to grow. And we took off. By the time I graduated, I had paying clients with revenue to the point I said, all right, I'm going to give this another year. And after another year, we continue to grow. And that was 18 years ago. Back in November 2005 was when this whole concept came together. So really excited. We've been through a lot in those 18 years. The 2008 recession, obviously COVID, many different electoral periods, and yeah, it's been a fun ride so far, and we have a lot more planned ahead.
And I think as an entrepreneur, people don't realize, you start all different times in your life, and you decide to start when you were in college, and you're still doing it, which is so great because not everybody does. But this whole show was about success and failures. And I would just say 2008 was definitely a shock to the system for anybody offering a service out
Mhm.
there or a product and all. And how did that affect your company and you?
In 2008, we were still small enough that I think even though there was some contraction in the market,
Hmm.
we hadn't had nearly enough of the market share that we still had growth opportunity.
Right.
There were people that were affected, and there were people that certainly weren't affected. In 2008, and we just continued to focus on finding those that were the right client for us, and continuing to grow our market share. So I saw the opportunity. I also say when the markets are down, it's even more important to dress up, right? The competition is higher. And when you understand how to use your image and your clothing strategically, it becomes a tool that
Hmm.
you're thinking about as a tool that others aren't.
Hmm.
And when you can edge out your competition, you can get your foot in the door by making that positive first impression. So, it was, to me, it was an easy sell. Hey, everybody's fighting for jobs. Economy's down. Well, let's make sure that you have the tools in place, make the investments in yourself to make sure that you have that competitive advantage over others, that you're thinking of your wardrobe in a way that they aren't.
So you made it more of an opportunity at that time frame than anything else.
Yep. Yeah. It didn't scare me. And I said, let's go, let's go, let's keep growing. So we actually grew. I think we doubled between 2008 and 2009, and we doubled again to 2009 to 2010. So, we certainly, we were hungry and young and we,
Hmm.
like I said, we didn't know any better. So, we just kind of kept trucking with what we were doing.
Yeah, sometimes it's hungry is always a piece of it. You have to constantly be hungry, the good times and the bad, for sure. And then let's move it to 2020, when we all knew exactly what was going to happen in 2020. And obviously a lot of our businesses shifted and pivoted. What did you guys do?
So we were forced to be shut down for 3 months. Obviously, like pretty much everybody, we were a non-essential business,
Hmm.
and I actually looked at that, and I knew the government was going to come out with programs that would help us, so I didn't panic. I kept my entire staff on. Nobody missed a paycheck. We pivoted to a work from home project
Hmm.
where I had my staff calling every client we'd ever worked with, just to check in on them, say, hey, how are you doing? These are weird times. Is there anything we can help you with outside of your clothing needs? Because we all
Right.
know you're sitting in sweatpants right now.
Yeah.
um, and just being there, really nurturing the relationship. And while I had my team doing that, I started working on the foundational elements of my business that I always wanted to do, but felt, I never had the time to sit and focus on. So
Right.
during COVID, we came up with our core values. During COVID, we really refined the mission of the company and started to define it and use those really two key foundational tools of business
Hmm.
in a way that we had never done before, because we never had them. We never had it defined and written down.
Yep.
So, I did projects like that. Of course, I kept my eye on what funding was out there. I
Yep.
applied for a lot of grants, and tried to stay top of mind, in the forefront of what was coming out, what was available, what companies were offering different things, and making sure I researched everything and, was doing everything I could to keep the company going from that financial perspective. So, it was a good 3 months, for us.
Hmm.
We continued to deliver clothing that was in our queue. So we would ship guys their clothing. Our clients were super supportive of us. And when we reopened in June, there was a floodgate. People thought they'd be back to work in September. So June of 2020 actually beat our June of 2019 in terms
Wow.
of numbers.
Hmm.
But then as it became more apparent in July and August that, hey, this thing's going to be around for a while, um, August was probably the worst month I'd had since 2006.
Wow.
September wasn't much better. And I really looked it in the eye and looked in the mirror and said, do I want to keep doing this? And I said, I do this not for me. I do it because I understand the impact I can have with my clients.
Hmm.
And so I called my clients and I said, do you like what I've done for you? They all said, yeah, I love my stuff. I can't wait to wear it again. I said, well, do you want me to be here when you have somewhere to go again? Yeah, I can't wait to get something new. I said, well, then you guys need to support us now.
Right.
Right. And that really turned it around. So I started making those personal phone calls at that point saying, if you want me to be here in the future, it's up to you guys. I do this for you, not for me. You guys need to support us through this, and let's not just do it to buy something, but let's be strategic. Let's get you those polo shirts that you can utilize at home, or the custom sweaters that you didn't know we made until I just told you, and all the custom casual wear that we have with our stuff. So that turned it around, and then once the vaccine came out, it was just we've been running the last 2 years, and it's just been insane. We were right back to where we were, actually exceeding previous years and hitting our best years ever. So,
Kudos for you. And then how did your customers react to that? Because now, all of a sudden you're calling them and, maybe they weren't used to you doing that. What are some of the things you learned from all that?
I mean, I always intended to call them, and we did speak on the phone a lot, but it was never. I feel like I've been so busy growing the business that the time to put into that relationship building intentionally over the phone was never there. So,
Right.
it was really nice to catch up with them. It was
Yeah.
really nice to see the reactions from them. And I guess what I learned from that really was it reinforced what I already knew, which is we are a relationship business.
Yep.
Right? People buy from us not just because we make them beautiful clothes and we make them feel amazing, but they buy because they like us
Yep.
and because we get to know them and we get to know their families and their life. And we become a trusted resource, just like their doctor, just like their lawyer, just like their accountant. It's not much more personal when you're putting clothing on somebody's body. So, we really take the time through our process, and we always have, and it just reinforced that we're doing things the right way, and that as we want to get busier, we want to get more efficient. That was, that time to build the relationship wasn't a corner that we were going to start cutting. It just reinforced that keep doing our proven process, and it works. So we build that relationship early and we build it strong, and then it carries us through.
Awesome. Yeah. It's funny how the things that you learned, I think a lot of people pivoted during COVID and they learned some new things. And then that I know for us, we learned about doing a newsletter that turned from the survival guide to the now connector that comes out every 2 weeks. And we still get so many people that comment on it, but it all started basically saying, how can we help others? And I think those ideas and all, as an entrepreneur, you're always thinking that I'll do things better, faster, quicker, for sure. So let's go to today. And today, basically, you're moving and grooving. You have a wonderful location down in Center City, and you definitely have ideas for like the future. So tell us more about, you hinted at the beginning of the show. So tell us more about that.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been in our showroom. We're at 17th and Spruce. It's a second floor location. We operate by appointment only. Our door stays locked, and it's very private experience. We want to have more of these in other cities. So we tried. We opened up a partnership in New York City in November of 2019.
Mm.
Not really knowing what was coming. Had it been December, I maybe would have said, "Hey, let's hold off, see where this is going." But it was really before the news started breaking, even from overseas, that this COVID thing might be happening.
Yeah.
And we actually made it 3 years with that partnership, and decided eventually that it wasn't the right fit, and we dissolved that in November of last year. So, well, I should say we're in 2024 now. So November of 2022, we dissolved that. So it's been about a year and some change since we exited New York.
But before you do that, go
Mhm.
back to that because entrepreneurs listen to this and some of them keep on going and trying, and they refuse to basically say, I'm done. And this is not working. I need to stop this. What were the things that were leading you to say, I need to stop this?
Well, you look at the money.
Yeah.
When you run out of money, you kind of have to stop. So, the expenses were consistent and the
Hmm.
sales had actually started to decline. So rather than the partner that was there who was really responsible for growing it, he kind of, I think, started to say, "Hey, this is harder than I thought it would be." And his core values. I mentioned working on our core values in 2020. So when we started this partnership, we didn't have the core values, and
Mm,
ultimately, I think that partner was not in alignment with our core values. But because we had already had the partnership going, we kept trying to go for a while. But it was evident that the core values weren't a fit. He wasn't acting in the way that I would have acted. We'll just say
yeah.
that.
Hmm.
And it got to a point where we did run out of money in that partnership. So we had always kept things separate. New York was its own market. It had nothing
Hmm.
to do with Philadelphia. We supported each other with different agreements between the two companies. But ultimately, it was kind of like, hey, if you don't turn this around, we just got to pull the plug on it. And it got to that point, and I looked at it. It was a loss of an investment, but I also looked at what I learned from it, and what I learned was invaluable because it really exposed me to what we needed to develop to do it right the next time.
Yeah.
The concept was right. The execution of it was premature, I would say,
Hmm.
because we didn't necessarily know what we didn't know at the
Sure.
time.
Right.
And now we will know better to vet the partner the right way using our core values,
Hmm.
making sure that the culture fit is there and the work ethic is there, and grow it with better training, better onboarding, better support systems, and rather than take 3 years to figure it out, we hope to see the next market we open be successful within the first 6 to 9 months. Um,
Nice.
and then we want to open multiple markets. Our ultimate goal is to grow our distribution channel large enough that it makes sense to then pursue our own supply.
Hmm.
And again, in 2020, a lot of supply chain issues were exposed,
Hmm.
and a lot of the opportunity for competition, really showed up. So
Sure.
we don't want to compete in that wholesale market. We just want to be able to control our own production, our own wholesale, and really our own destiny in that sense. So That's our big 10-year target, is to open our own tailor shop here on the US soil, and really be able to control the quality and the supply and everything that comes out of the shop.
So how are you planning for that?
We started EOS about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we went full in on the entrepreneurial operating system, and it's quarter by quarter. That's the way we plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we just had our annual planning day. We revised our 3-year plan. We came up with a new 1-year plan, and we set our quarterly rocks.
Yep.
And you look at rock completion being 80% or higher every quarter. And at the end of the year, you accomplish a number of really big monumental things that move the company forward. So that's the way we're planning.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that the power of the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer with EOS. And for those of you out there don't know EOS, it's Entrepreneur Operating System, but it is very, very important if you're looking for a framework of how to run your company. And I stumbled on mine back in 2016 talking to Hank, and then Hank became my facilitator, and I haven't looked back yet, but it is interesting because everybody coming on board even gets a book. What the heck is EOS? So really get them comfortable with the lingo and the terminology behind it, but it does work for us for sure, which is really great. Now, when you talk about your business and line of business, because you basically have amazing suits and attire, how do you get the word out about what you do? Is it mostly referrals?
So we kind of have a three-pronged approach.
Okay.
We want to capture the low-hanging fruit. Anybody looking for what we do, we want to make sure they can find us. So
Mm-hmm.
we have a pretty robust strategy with SEO,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of digital advertising through different channels, whether it's different social media channels or Google AdWords. We're really trying to dial that in. That's
Right.
been a tricky kind of moving target because they keep changing algorithms, and my marketing person is young, and he's trying to figure it out. And we finally just found somebody that's really a little bit more expert in that and is going to help us. So we're hoping that that starts to drive more incoming leads.
Right.
But from the beginning, it's always been relationship building.
Yeah.
So I get out at events. I comment all the time. I see you. I say, I don't know how you make it to all these events, but then I think I'm seeing you at all these events. So I'm making it to all of them too.
Right. Exactly.
Um, and there may be 3, 4, 5, 6 networking events throughout the week where I'm just being present, meeting people, building those relationships.
Yep.
One of my favorite groups that outside of EO is BCA, and Business Clubs of America, and they have a saying: "Build relationships before you need them." And that relationships are kind of like bank accounts that you can't
Yep.
withdraw from them if you don't make deposits first.
Exactly.
So I kind of show up with a give first mentality. I want to get to know people. I want to get to know how I can help them and utilize my network to make connections for them. And
Mm-hmm.
then that comes back to you, whether directly or indirectly, the energy that you build from that and put out there ends up turning into people making referrals. And then the third prong is our clients. Our clients are walking billboards.
Mm-hmm.
They get stopped all the time and get complimented, unsolicited compliments from complete strangers, and often get asked, "Hey, where'd you get that?"
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes a really easy, "Hey, you got to go talk to my guy Brian. He takes really great care of me." Or, "You got to go talk to the team at Henry Davidson. They do an
Mm-hmm.
awesome job, awesome experience, and awesome product." So it's really those three approaches combined, and then it turns into repeat business. And the more it repeats, the more it grows.
It's so interesting. I was just thinking you could probably have like a QBR code, like in the lapel on the side, turn it in like with where it's like it's your thing, and then here, just use this, take a picture of this, and then you'll have somebody contact you within 24 hours. I think that'd be cool because there's no work involved. You know what I mean? Everybody's so used to taking a picture, but it's just something to think about of like, because these people are busy, they're walking around, they'll make it up. They're basically like, ambassadors of your product, right? Because they're wearing it
Right.
and something easy for them to follow up on. But I was thinking, I'm like, oh, that'd be so cool to have like, hey, just take a picture of this, and you'll get a customer service person talking to you in 24 hours. So just
That's
thinking
an
outside the
idea.
box there.
No,
You know what I mean?
I love that idea. Can I steal it? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
If I
Yeah.
can figure out how to implement it, I will. But I love the idea. That's great.
Yeah. Make it easy. One thing I've learned, like I was doing a presentation with a chamber on Tuesday, and it was really coming down to how some people, and I've got trust me, I've got degrees, but I just use a lot of hairdressers. But ironically enough, a lot of them are having problems of trying. They said making the phone call ring a lot, and I said to like, well, who's your customer? Are you going after? Does your customer demographics change? Because if you're below 40. they're not using the phone. They use the phone for text and all too, but if you can't make their life easier by actually having a calendar and putting a time on there and stuff like that, they don't really wanna talk to you anymore. And so a lot of these people who are, like, a little bit more senior, like me, 55 and older, they're like, "Well, I wanna do the old-fashioned way." I'm like, "Yeah, but we have to start rethinking of how to bring business in because the younger generation has no they have no idea. They don't wanna talk to somebody on the phone at all. And so how can you make that process easier and smoother? But it is a pivot of how they're currently talking and doing things. But you have 5 generations in the workplace now. So it's really different of how people wanna do that, which is fascinating to me. So you're out a lot. You're out moving, you're out grooving. How do you work it that, you take care of your customers? Because obviously it's not a quick sell. You have a very deep dive relationship sell as well. And when people are ready to join and be a part of you because you make them look so good. You know, how do you get around that? Because you have to be very patient to do that. But what are some of the other things that you might do throughout the year to be on top of mind of what you do?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It is a long sell. It's a big investment and a big decision. And even once they decide, hey, I want to move forward with this, it's a long delivery period, right? We're making everything from scratch. So the fastest we could probably turn something around is maybe 3 to 4 weeks. The first time you go through a true custom experience with us, it could take 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So, right. So it is, you have to stay top of mind. You have to make sure that you're reinforcing that they're making the right decisions. But just in terms of business development, we've done whiskey tastings at our store. So we try to bring them in for other events that aren't a direct sell, right? It's, hey, come learn about this scotch. We have a partnership with Macallan or the distributor for Macallan. So we've done Macallan tastings
Hmm.
and they get to taste rare cask, which you can't buy in a store. If you can find it, you can buy it in a store, but it's really hard to find. Or they'll bring in a special edition of the Macallan so that it's really unique for the people that are attending. And we keep those small,
Yep.
15, 20 people at most. We
Yep.
try to bring people together again that are going to be good to meet each other, not just
Hmm.
good for us.
Yep.
And that they're all enthusiasts and kind of connecting over a common theme of enjoyment of whiskey, whichever, if it's a bourbon or a scotch or any other type. So we've done that. Certainly cigar events go along with gentlemen's things, watch events. If we want to talk about timepieces, we've done that in the store before. So just a reason to get them in. And you see behind me over my shoulder the barber station. So, a couple of years ago, I put a barber shop in. We do have a barber that comes in right now, only 1 week in a month because of the setup. And it's really her clients, but a lot of our clients have become hers. So, they're coming in, seeing us for a reason other than making a purchase, but it keeps us top of mind.
Yeah, I love that idea. Absolutely. I think it's really cool. It's interesting you don't have either for some reason, my son's 22 and he likes really nice stuff and he wants to be in that world of financial planning, which is perfect for him. But I'm telling you, like they're really into like nice stuff, much nicer than I was at 22. I'm lucky to have money for beer. And but it was totally different for these guys nowadays. And so they're really into cologne. And it'd be interesting to actually have a connection with colognes too, because that seems to be like they like looking good, they like smelling good, they like having that whole look. And I'm just shocked because it's not like cheap, cologne they're looking at. It's very expensive and it would probably tie right in what you're doing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can use scent strategically, just like you can use color strategically. There's different reactions that the human brain is programmed for when we smell things versus when we see things.
Hmm.
And smell is very tied to memory. So I don't know if you've ever been in a place, oh my God, it takes me right back to, the last time I had this smell. So
Yeah.
it really can be something that's super powerful. And most people don't think to use it strategically or they don't know what that strategy is. So we really try to bring the psychological elements to the forefront with the clothing, with things like cologne, with things like color,
Hmm.
and teach them how it can be used to their benefit if they really just take a couple extra minutes when they get dressed and think, who am I seeing today? What
Hmm.
am I trying to achieve? And what tools are in my toolbox to help me with that?
Yeah, it's fascinating. People are always lambasting like candles and all, but we use a lot of candles here in the office. And the reason why is because sometimes client comes in, come on, we're outsourced HR, outsourced recruiting. Usually it's not for a good reason, and they're nervous and they're tense and stuff like that too. But I purposely pick very calming, soothing candles so they feel like, oh, it's so comfortable here. I'm like, yeah, and that's the whole idea because I want you to basically be feel comfortable and tell me what's really going on instead of us trying to pick away what's really happening in the problem because you're wasting our time and theirs. But it's funny how like even the sense of smell really does work wonders if you use it properly.
Yep. Yep.
Fascinating.
Absolutely.
So how do you stay on top of what you do? Because the fashion industry is always changing. The colors are changing. I think this year for Pantone was I think peach, if I'm not mistaken. And I find out like how do you stay on top of all that? Because that must be a very interesting time. You have to find fabrics, you have to find places. How do you do that as well as maintain a business?
Sure. No, so I love this conversation because you're talking about fashion, and really the approach we take is style.
Mm,
And a lot of times people use those two words interchangeably when
mhm,
they actually have different meanings. And so fashion is driven by the industry, like you're talking
mhm.
about. It has to constantly be changing and reinventing itself to stay fresh and stay
Yes.
relevant. Style is driven by the individual, right? And so the level of clothing we make, if you're going to make that investment, we want to make an investment that's timeless.
Mhm,
And what I've been trained in is how to take somebody's personality and how to design through line and design and color and pattern to reflect their personality outward, so that
mhm,
it creates cohesiveness and it creates authenticity for them. And then if we take along with that design and balance their features, so the shape of their face, the broadness of their shoulders, right?
mm,
Big guys, small guys, getting them in the right length, getting the button placement at the right place,
mhm,
having the fit be perfect. What we create for them is something that they could wear today.
mhm.
They could have worn it 10 years ago. They can wear it 10 years from today, and they probably could pass it down to another family member if they're similar size in the future. So we look at designing from that element, and that it helps me because I don't have to stay completely on top of fashion, and I
Mhm.
don't have to go find all the fashion elements that are existing for a particular season. I really just have a good classic collection, and our fabric vendors give us swatch books each season, so
Mm.
we do have more of a mix of what's contemporary in there,
Right.
but every season, what's contemporary is going to work for some and not for others based on what their style is. So, we're always keeping it fresh with new stuff, but I don't have to go searching for it. In terms of really managing everything else I do, it's having good systems in place, right? And utilizing tools and software. So a really good, robust CRM that's used heavily, which is an area that we're improving upon.
Mhm,
A good task management or project management system, which we use. And you kind of get it all out of your brain and into systems.
mhm.
And you get a good team built around you to help.
So 2 questions with that. What is your CRM? Because again, entrepreneurs wanna hear what's the latest and the best things to use out there.
So we currently use Pipedrive
Mhm,
for our CRM. We've been using that probably for the last 4 to 5 years.
mhm.
And it's a tool, but it needs to be designed in a way that works for what our needs are.
Right.
So I've played with the tool, tweaked, tested, tweaked more. We made even more changes last year, to the
Mhm.
tool and how we're using it to. You have to think about the output of what you want it to give you, and then think about the inputs you have to put into it.
Oh, yeah.
And the system exists, but you have to design it for your needs for it to really be helpful and functioning. So, and that's going to be true with any tool. Salesforce is the same
Yep.
way. A lot of people use HubSpot, which is something we've looked at. Yep. So we're looking into HubSpot because HubSpot combines a
Mhm,
lot of the individual programs we're currently using
mhm.
into one system that works a little bit more robustly, but it is more expensive than all those other ones combined. So you have to look at the delta and kind of see, am I getting that much more benefit and return?
Right.
It's not that much more, but it is more. And the systems we use are between Pipedrive and Mailchimp for our email and the CRM.
Mhm.
If I were to eliminate the two of them, I'd probably pay double what I pay for them individually for the entry level of HubSpot.
Right.
But if it worked that much more efficiently and I got more out of it because of the functionality,
Mhm.
then I don't. look at what I'm spending. I look at what the return on what I'm spending should be.
So just a tip, EO has it's one of their national sponsors is HubSpot, and you'll
Mhm.
get a discount if you use HubSpot through EO. So just a heads up.
Yep. Yeah, I am aware of that. And it's even with that, it's still about twice as much. So,
Yeah, it is. I
uh,
mean, we use HubSpot, but we like live by it, and we put all of our content on LinkedIn and everything else, and Facebook and Instagram via that. The only problem with that is you can't tag. You have to go back in it and tag people. And I'm a big, me and my tag 10.
yep.
And so it's a big thing to do that. But it does work and it does pay off. But the stats you get from it, they're priceless. They really are. So the big question is, and I know everybody out there is waiting to hear this. It's like, that's great, but what's in for 2024 to wear, Brian? And so like, what is the things? Is it a tweed? Is it, is it something else? Is it wool? Is it shirts? Is it a tie? Is it three-piece? Tell us what you see for 2024.
So I would say one of the hottest new pieces we've started making, and it's just continuing, is a safari coat.
Ooh,
So we're wearing, dressing up, but looking more casual. I think the tie has been the biggest um, victim of the pandemic, right?
agreed. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think ties are going to come back too. But up until this point, everybody's like, I haven't put a tie on in 4 years. I haven't put a tie on in, forever. I can't tell you the last time I wore one. I still wear ties quite regularly, but
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing more and more of our clients actually, buy ties and pocket squares again, which I think that'll come back. But the safari coat, and then we're also seeing a new model that we're about to introduce is a shooting coat and a shooting vest. So it's going to have the gun patch on the shoulder, and the pockets for the shotgun shells, and it'll be functional or not, depending on if somebody's really a hunter or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're kind of introducing those two elements, and I think you're going to see it come back a little bit more structured again. People are returning to the office, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be in your sweatpants in the office, like you could working from home. So, people are going to start to find the need as the companies start to return to the office spaces, just to get dressed back again in whatever it is. Tweed's great in the winter. Linen, wool, and silk are great in the summer. So just going to depend on the season and each person that we work with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the biggest question coming down is it jeans or is it slacks?
Do you need to be more dressed or a little bit more relaxed? Yeah, jeans and a sport coat. That's what I have on today.
Mhm,
I wear nice dressy jeans quite a few of the days of the week, but we're seeing both. We've guys buying slacks again, and
mhm,
we have guys buying jeans. The element that really counts on both of those is making sure you have the jacket layer added to it.
mm.
So that'll help elevate the look.
And rumor has it that you basically design and make one of the best jeans in Philadelphia.
If that's what they say, I'll take that rumor. There's
So,
there's
mhm,
not a lot of people that make custom jeans.
nope.
We've been making custom jeans all the way back to I believe 2012,
Mhm,
2011 is when we first started it. I first had the idea in 2008, and it took a while to find somebody that economically could make a one-off pair of denim to
yeah,
specific sizing. So we were doing it long before the pandemic. Pandemic hit, a lot of companies said, "Oh, we need to figure out how to do this casual stuff," and we were already running with it at that point. So, yep, come see me for jeans. I'd love to love to make you feel amazing. And I do have guys who have been skeptical, and then as soon as they put them on, they go, "Oh, I've never felt anything this comfortable." in my jeans, and it really does make a difference when you feel comfortable, when you know you're wearing the right thing, the way you start to walk around, the way you change, the way you talk to people.
yep.
It just elevates everything.
Oh my goodness, does it ever? I think it's so amazing. So 2023 is over, and this show is also about successes. What was that one success last year that you're so proud of?
We spent a lot of time last year working on process,
Mm,
and actually so much that it probably distracted us from selling.
mhm,
And we saw a little bit of a roller coaster with our revenue numbers, but
mhm,
still a decent output by the end of the year.
mhm.
But the process we developed really, I think, is going to set us up to grow a lot faster than we could have before. So I'm really proud of that. And then we made some investments in our tailor shop
Mhm.
that I think were game changing for us. They removed that as a bottleneck and a backlog. We were able to bring on 2 new tailors to our team,
Mm,
which really hard to find tailors that
mhm.
are qualified at this point.
I bet.
And then some of the capital investments we made in some machinery really paid off the way I thought it would. And so between those two things, the process documentation and development, getting us ready to really scale, and also removing a pretty key bottleneck that could affect the sales process and
Mhm.
our promise to our customers, which can also affect our confidence to sell on the front
Mhm.
end, right? And kind of make sure we manage it so that we're not putting ourselves in a position where we can't deliver because we're actually selling too much.
Yep.
Those two elements have really set us up here for 2024, and we have, even though we didn't quite hit our goals last year, we didn't retract our goals. We've expanded them. So
Awesome.
we went more aggressive for 2024, and so far the first 2 weeks are showing us that we're on the right track. So
It's always good to have a
we hope it
plan.
continues.
I love it. I love
Yep.
it. So I have 3 more questions. One is, when did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, what age?
I always loved earning money. As a kid, our parents, before we had allowance as kids, there was a chore chart, and I was always the one taking the highest paying chores. Um, and I would use my chore money to go buy Jolly Ranchers, and I would resell Jolly Ranchers on the back of the bus to friends for a quarter a piece. So, I mean, it goes way back. I probably, could trace it all the way back to then, but really this business in particular, I never thought I'd be in. And it was going through my own personal experience of going from knowing nothing about fine clothing
Mhm.
or much about clothing or style or image or anything, and going through an experience with a tailor that I asked a lot of questions and had curiosity about, and um, thought that the experience that was provided to me needed to be better. And so I went out and continued to research and said, hey, I think there's a viable business here. There's guys like me at the time that need this help.
Mhm.
And once you start to see people change because they go through our process, it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Their confidence explodes. I had one guy at his own wedding, his came back and told me, he said, my cousins came up to me. They said they didn't recognize who I was because I was acting so different than they ever knew me.
Wow.
And it's awesome to know that you're helping people feel amazing, and to be noticed for the right reasons and to be put not necessarily on a pedestal, but be elevated,
Mhm.
and into more of a leadership role when it comes to dressing around people.
It's interesting. That's why I like recruiting so much. Makes people feel good,
Hmm.
and going into new roles and changing their life. That's for sure. The one word you said, curiosity, which is such an entrepreneur word. You need to have it if you're going to be successful in entrepreneurism. You books. Let's talk about that. You do Audible? Do you do a hardcover? How do you stay on top of all this stuff?
So I do love to read a physical book in my hands,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to underline and highlight, and it'll be a mix of Audible. It'll be a mix of doing like Blinkist, which gives
Hmm.
you the reviews of the books, which is also through EO. Another benefit that we get
Yep.
is free Blinkist subscription, a hard copy book, and then I read on my Kindle as well. And I think if anybody wants a tip, the neatest thing I discovered this year is when you highlight things on a Kindle in the book, you can then export all your highlights, and it'll give you a line by line Excel document of all the things and snippets that you decided were important within that book. And then you can share them or just have a quick access reference to that. So I'd always highlight it on the Kindle thinking, well, how does this help me? And then I found this button that said export
Hmm.
highlights.
Interesting.
So I think that is a really neat tip, and I will probably move to reading more on the Kindle because it made it so easy to summarize the book and kind of keep in mind the points that I wanted to keep in mind. So
Great tip. Great tip of the day. And then last question is, how do people get a hold of you?
yep. So we're 1701 Spruce Street, second floor. Our website, if you Google Custom Tailors Philadelphia, you'll find us pop up near the top. But if you want to go directly to the website, it's www.henrydavidsen.com. And you see that the Davidsen is spelled with an E and not an O. But if you do type in Henry A. Davidson with an O, it'll redirect to us as well. So
Smart.
so we do have that domain, but find us online. You can call us at the store. It's 215-253-5905 is the line here to the store. It'll take you into our automated prompts, but if you want to get right through to somebody, just hit number 1 as soon as it picks up. Um, And you can also email us, info@henrydavidson.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Brian, can't thank you enough for taking time to be on our show today. Such great advice in there, great little nuggets and all, and so excited. And I'm hoping that you get a plethora of people going to be buying your jeans now too. But I'm very excited, and we do so much together with EO, so I'm sure I'll see you shortly. And we do a lot of networking together too, so I'm sure I'll be seeing you out there as well. But in the meantime, good luck to 2024. And for those of you out there, my listeners and all, thanks for listening again. Please like us out there, send it over to other people. But the idea behind this is top three, where entrepreneurs share their secrets and their mistakes. And trust me, there's a lot of them, but pay attention because every little nugget out there helps you become better and faster and more efficient. And that's what we're here to do to help you with that. So with that, don't be afraid of the fear, conquer the fear and keep going. All right. Take care of everybody.